Savior, JT.
Welcome to another edition of Be a Peacemaker. I am Dr. Michael Patterson. I'm here today with my buddy Nick Stone Street. How you doing, Nick?
Good, Dr. Patterson. It's great to be back here with you.
Yeah. It's quite a bit has happened in your life since our last episode. I think you've done a little international traveling.
Yeah, we just got, speaking of peacemakers, Miss Naomi King, one of the really great friends of Ronald Blue Trust, we got to go to Nigeria with her and give out school supplies to kids and go to a wedding and visited a mega church there with her. It was really it was an inspiring time. It's funny, Mike. I talk about the test of a person's character is how they behave in airports, and
Okay.
we got to the airport in Lagos at midnight. The flight was supposed to leave at 4:45 a.m. It had already been delayed 6 hours, and it didn't leave until about 5:45 a.m. So 5 hours and 45 minutes in an airport for a 91-year-old lady, and
Wow.
not one complaint.
Wow.
Checking on other people. How are you okay? Are you all okay? Amazing.
She's a
amazing,
special lady.
amazing woman. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we are here today with our guest, Kitty Hill. Kitty
Good
Hill,
morning, good
welcome
morning.
to our edition of Peacemakers. And to our listening audience, we like to engage in conversations that lead to transformation. And as we think about who we like to just have discourse with, you came to our minds. You have definitely had and still have a very interesting life. And we're thankful that you're here today to share some of your life's journey with us. So
Yeah.
we're going to jump right in. Kitty, how did we even meet? I think that was the most unique experience I've had in a long time.
Yeah, so we met in the community. We met out doing the work of trying to provide service to the community. We met because you're planning a church in the community that God has sent me to serve. And when I think about it, the actual meeting place was at the governor's mansion. A mutual friend that we all know invited both of us to the governor's mansion to speak with Governor Kemp. And it was at that breakfast meeting that as we went around the table to introduce who we were and what we were working on and what we're doing, that you mentioned what you were doing. And I was like, that sounds just like the church that's in my community. And it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, God has a unique way of bringing people together for sure.
Yeah, at that breakfast with Governor Kemp, it was an interesting time. But it also shows that when there are opportunities, you take them. You take the opportunities.
Absolutely.
You don't let the petty differences separate us, because if we hadn't gone, we probably would not have met each other. And you just never know how life works. But, in getting to know you, Kenny, I have grown in my respect and admiration for your conviction about people. And I know you wrote a book that chronicled your life. You want to share your title with us and what prompted you to write the book?
Absolutely. So the title of the book is Elevated. And it really just describes my journey as a young boy growing up in poverty, single-parent home, the eldest of 7 siblings. There was not much that looked like success in my early upbringing. As I look back, though, my mom was sowing the seeds of success in my life through prayer and engaging me and helping me understand that, we serve a God who's able to do anything. It took me to learn that for myself, so I had to journey through the trials of trying to do it without God, and then trying to do it through the constraints of I'm checking all the boxes of what it takes to be a good Christian, and then finally to becoming ingrained in God's character and having a relationship with Him that not just results in a list of things that I do because I'm a Christian, but a lifestyle that I live and that He lives through me that reaches other people. And those are the levels of elevation, the levels of transformation that happen for me. So I capture that in the book to be an encouragement to other people.
Wow.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's so powerful, Kenny. And, I love the idea of how much time you spend in the community and the things that you do for others. What do you think drove you to that? A lot of people express their faith in different ways, but, Jesus expressed his faith in working in communities, and it seems like that's a path you've chosen as well.
Yes, he did. He served. He went out and sought the least and the lost. And for me, I was the least and the lost for so much of my life. Mm-hmm. And I can remember it just like it was yesterday. When I look into the eyes of the children that we serve through our literacy program, I see myself, somebody struggling with school and education being one of the pathways or one of the tools to alleviate my situation. But there was somebody there. God sent somebody to step in to encourage me and said, hey, you can do this. I see potential in you. So every day that I get up, when I look in the eyes of my children, I love them and I see the great potential God has for them. But as I look into their eyes, I can remember where I was when I was their age, and it looked a lot different.
Wow.
And I remember the people who I went out and served last week to try to encourage them, as young people to pay attention, because I'm here because I see greatness in you. So everything that I experience day to day is a reminder of where I've been and where God has brought me from. And then he's just placed in me. And I it's funny because my mom tells me the story that when I was little, whenever someone would visit us, if they had kids with them, when they got ready to leave, I would go get all my toys and try to give my toys to them as they were leaving.
Wow. Okay.
And so I think there's just something in me that God has wired me just to be a giver, and it pleases me to see someone's life impacted. Mm-hmm. I get more out of knowing somebody's life has been impacted than seeing another digit in my bank account or in my investment portfolio. Those things are important, but I think they're important as a means of being able to reach more people.
Amen.
Wow.
Kenny, aside from your mom, who else influenced you? Who else saw something special in you? And everybody kind of needs a break in life. And I think of 2 or 3 people that helped me at critical moments when it could have gone the other way for me. Who are some of the people that kind of helped you?
Yes, that's so true. And without people, and you never know, it doesn't always take a lot. Sometimes it's just a word of encouragement. It's just taking interest in what someone's doing to give them the encouragement to continue in the right path. And God sent people in my path. And some of them were able to be an example where I can look at where they were and say, yeah, I want to be like that. And then some of them were to give me encouragement and say, hey, you can do better than what you're doing. There's more for you if you'll be consistent. So God sent me. My godfather was just a tremendous blessing in my life, and he sent him to me to show me what could be possible, because all around me was the evidence of what I didn't want: the poverty, the crime, people, taking advantage of each other. But to have someone with a fresh perspective step in and say, every day doesn't have to be like today, and everywhere is not like where you are now.
Where was that, Kenny, and how old were you then?
So yeah, I was still in high school. I was in the midst of all the pulls of trying to find my identity, which was really challenging because I didn't have my father in my life. So I grew up with a lot of just anxiety about, why am I not accepted? And questions you don't have anybody to answer for you, right? My mom tried to explain it the best she could, but the person who had the answer to why my father's not in my life was not there to answer that. So just really having to battle with identity, which is a part of, middle school, high school, everybody has that struggle. But when you have a key piece of what God has intended for your life missing, the enemy jumps in to try to exploit that. And so it was during that time of me searching and wanting to belong and wanted to know where I fit in, that God sent godly men to say, hey, what's around you doesn't define you. You know, and what you're dealing with today, this is here for a season, but you can rise above it. And God is giving you what it takes to do that, and you have to use it. And that was the encouragement I needed to, you know, challenge myself to do more. I could have accepted what everybody else was doing as this is what life has presented, and this is, you know, what I have to deal with. But God sent me people to challenge me to say, you can do more.
So, Kenny, what happened with some of your peers?
Wow. You know, I pray for them because, you know, every time I go back to where home was then, you know, I struggle to find them. But, yeah, just at an early age, involved in gangs, involved in drugs, and what happens when you're involved with them with a lot of lives cut short, a lot of lives spent behind bars, a lot of lives hooked on irreversible damage due to substance abuse. Things that, you know, it's amazing to look at. These are the guys we all played in the park with, I grew up with. And then as we grew, their lives just were torn from the path that I know God had intended for them. But by His grace, you know, I made it. I made it out.
Amen.
And I'm forever mindful that the only thing separating me from where they ended up and where they struggle to this day is God's grace. There were times, I can remember times where I was about to get arrested and God opened the door for me to get out. I remember times where I was out of control in a car hanging off the side of a mountain with traffic coming the other way. That could have just knocked me off the mountain in the car to a certain death. I mean, there were just so many times where it was just His grace that was there just to watch over me.
And you said something that's very deep and profound about your mother, how much she prayed for you, taught you about God. And that's a great reminder to parents that we really need to pray for our children. We need to talk to them about God. And I met your mom. She's a sweet lady. Something else we have in common. Her name is Miss Gloria.
Yes.
That's my mother's name. And you're the oldest of 7. Come
Yes.
from a large family. I come from a large family. So it's really cool when God allows you to meet people who have a similar upbringing. You know, I understand what it's like to grow up in poverty. But your story in the book is so compelling because you talked about being in college.
Yes.
Being in college and then finding the job you wanted to get. I believe that was Home Depot.
Yes, it was.
Let's talk about that because I thought it was very interesting.
Yes, Home Depot was a great learning ground for my life. It was a company that had great leadership and core values, and that was good for me because there were a lot of companies that, you know, the profit is king. That's all they focus on, and then everything else is subject to what is it going to take to reach that number. But there was a company in Home Depot that placed how we treat each other and how we treat our customers as priority. And our founders had the firm belief that if we take care of each other and together we take care of our customers, then the bottom line will take care of itself. And it's just, you know, for me, that was rare. And still to this day, I don't see that being a major focus for a lot of major organizations.
Okay. Now, didn't you as a young man get on the plane and fly to Atlanta?
Yes, I did. So my mentor challenged me. One of the ways he challenged me to write a letter to the CEO. I had been working about 3.5 years at Home Depot. I was in college. I think it was my junior year. And he said, you need to write the CEO and let him know you're about to graduate and let him know what you feel about, you know, working with the company. And I'm just thinking, I'm the last person that the CEO wants to hear from. But my mentor insisted. So I did. Wrote the letter and just, you know.
Who was the CEO at the time?
So at the time, it was our founder, Bernie Marcus.
Okay.
He was the CEO. And I wrote the letter thanking him for the culture he created and that I was enjoying as an employee. And then I told him I was studying and about to graduate and just really look forward to how I could grow with the company. And he responded. It blew me away because I was expecting that to just be something maybe his secretary got and threw it in the shredder. But he responded. He wrote me back and, said, congratulations on your upcoming degree. I want you to reach out to our Vice President of Human Resources. And I was like, wow. And I did. So that's how I ended up coming to Atlanta for the first time was, hey, the company I was working for as a student invited me to come and meet with senior leadership.
Wow. That's a bold request.
Yes, it was.
That's great.
It was.
That's great, Ken.
It was, and that was one of the ways that I had people that challenged me, and because
Right.
if the challenge wasn't there, I would have never done it. I would have never written that letter on my own, and I never would have ended up coming to Atlanta, which was truly God's plan for me. I'm sure of that. Being here in Atlanta, experiencing the things I've experienced, developing the way I've developed, and reaching out to the people that I've reached out to was all a part of God's plan.
So your mentor challenged you, you followed through on it, came to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Now, how many years did you work with Home Depot? Because I know you're retired from Home Depot, so.
Well, yeah, 30 years. So
Wow.
when you start as a student,
Okay. Oh, you count your college years.
Yes, I started.
Okay.
Yeah, I started as a student, and 30 years later, I was still enjoying what I was doing, having experienced what it meant to do business God's way along the way, which was pivotal because coming out of college, I thought, I have an education and I know how to network, and those are the things that everybody tells you are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Get your degree, know your business, and then know how to network, and that's your key to be able to rise in any organization. And so I was prepared to do that, and I went at it with all my energy, and it got me nowhere. I mean, there were benefits that every associate got, and those were the ones I had. My college degree did not seem to move the needle for me. My hard work didn't seem to move the needle. My extra work and effort, my networking, all of those things that I tried just fell flat. And God was trying to show me that, for me, there was a path that included his character and his nature being presented as the key to my success. And so of that 30-year career, I would say it's about 15 years of it that Kenny Hill was trying to do it his way and show the world that, he knew what was going on, and it was not working.
It's so interesting, Kenny, because so many times you hear, and it is good. I mean, obviously, to have your college degree and work hard and go after it and do the networking. And sometimes we feel like, something or someone is holding us back. I felt that way before. And then when I found out it's actually God holding me back, using someone or something so I could learn the lessons. So where did that intersection with God really come in?
Yes, he's such a good father that he's insistent that we learn these lessons before we move forward. For me, there was a intersection at the time. I was married, my first marriage. Things weren't going so well there. A lot of it had to do with my career because things were still not working in my career. And it all came to a head. It just came to my first wife said, you know what, that's it, I'm leaving. And now here, Nick, I'm a Christian, serving in my church. I'm volunteering in the youth ministry. I'm reading my Bible. I pray every day. I'm doing all the things,
The checklist.
checking the whole list off, right? And now my wife's leaving. And I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? I've been faithful. I used to work and bring the check that I did earn. I'd bring it and give it to her. Say, here's the check. And then she'd give me gas money to get to work for the next 2 weeks. And, I did that. That was our agreement. She was better at the finances, so here you do what you do. And so I was just caught so off guard that how can this happen? And I got really frustrated with God. I was like, God, what's going on? This shouldn't be happening to me. And the enemy tried to make me feel guilty. It's like, you can't even keep your marriage together. Mm-hmm. How can you be a minister? Because that was the thing, the gospel was so precious to me just because I saw how God had rescued me from what I grew up in. And so the enemy attacks my message, like, you shouldn't even mention anything. You can't even keep your marriage together.
That's deep.
So, yeah, but and I found myself face down in the carpet of an empty house because all the furniture was gone, crying a puddle of tears in the carpet, saying, God, what did I do to deserve this? And you can't leave me like this. And just really crying out because I was at the end of myself. Because all my Bible study, all my prayer, all my hard work, all my networking, everything that Kenny Hill knew had been fully implemented, and I'd done it to the max. And I was bankrupt. I was like, this is not how it's supposed to be. And I remember hearing God's voice through my tears, and he told me, love is the answer to your situation. And I said,
Not the message you wanted.
I said, love has nothing to do with this. I mean, I was always a nice guy. I treat
Right,
everybody
right.
respectful. My mom raised me to be polite. So I'm thinking in my mind, God, are you hearing my prayer or is that for somebody else? Because love has nothing to do
Wow.
with what I'm going through. And he challenged me. And he said, what does John 3:16 say? For God so loved the world that he gave. And he said, stop right there. He said, love gives, and kindness is your key. And I just, that was just to me like, God, why am I even praying? Because you're talking to me about something that has nothing to do with my situation, but I'm going to take what you've just given me and I'm going to run with it just to prove that this has nothing to do with my situation. That's
okay.
where
Okay,
I was.
so
I said, I'm going to do this, but I'm doing it. I'm to show you that this has nothing to do. My love walk has nothing to do with my situation.
So you were kind of like Jonah. You knew best, though.
I was. I was embarrassed. I felt like I was an embarrassment to God,
Okay.
and he was letting it happen. So I was like, what's going on here?
Right.
But I tell you, Nick, I determined in my heart, I said, I'm going to go out of my way to be genuinely kind to everybody that crosses my path. So I work in the Home Depot location. There's like 103 employees. There's about 8,000 people that come through there a day. But I said, I'm going to do that. And I started investing kindness into the lives of my associates, investing kindness in every customer interaction. And two wonderful things happened. One, every act of kindness that I extended to someone else, it began to heal my heart.
Wow.
All that brokenness from my wife leaving me, all the frustration from my career not elevating, he was just like there was a stitch being put in place every time I was going out of my way to help somebody else. And he taught me, he's like, whenever things in your life are just beyond control and in chaos, stop focusing on that and focus on what you can do for somebody else.